Ever heard of the French Revolution? Of course, you have. But what about the revolution it inspired? The one that shattered the chains of slavery and created the world's first free black republic. This is the story of a man who rose from the brutal reality of enslavement to become a military genius and the father of a nation. This is the story of Toussaint Louverture, the Black Spartacus, and the Haitian Revolution. Our story begins in the French colony of Saint-Domingue, today known as Haiti. In the late 18th century, it was the most profitable colony in the world, nicknamed the Pearl of the Antilles, but this wealth was built on a foundation of unimaginable cruelty. Hundreds of thousands of enslaved Africans were forced to labor on vast sugar and coffee plantations under the most brutal conditions imaginable. Life expectancy was short, and the system was designed to extract maximum profit through maximum suffering. But in 1791, the winds of change that had swept through France reached the shores of the Caribbean, inspired by the revolutionary ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, and fueled by decades of pent-up rage and a deep desire for freedom. The enslaved people of Saint-Domingue rose up. The night of August 21, 1791, marked the beginning of a coordinated uprising. Plantations were set ablaze, and the revolt spread like wildfire across the northern plains. It was the start of the only successful slave revolt in history. Among the chaos, a remarkable figure began to emerge. His name was Toussaint Louverture, later known as Toussaint Louverture. Born into slavery, he had been fortunate enough to gain his freedom before the revolution. He was a man in his late 40s, well-read, and known for his intelligence and quiet authority. Initially, he was hesitant to join the violent uprising, but seeing the unstoppable tide of rebellion, he committed himself fully to the cause of liberation. What made Louverture extraordinary was his genius for organization and strategy. He took a scattered group of rebels, armed with little more than farm tools and immense courage, and began to forge them into a disciplined and effective fighting force. He trained his soldiers in guerrilla warfare tactics, using their knowledge of the local terrain to their advantage. He was a master of diplomacy and political maneuvering, playing the competing European powers against each other. At the time, Saint-Domingue was a prize coveted by France, Spain, and Great Britain. Louverture initially allied his forces with the Spanish, who controlled the other half of the island, to fight against the French. His military prowess was undeniable. He quickly rose through the ranks, earning the respect of his troops and the fear of his enemies. It was during this time he adopted the name Louverture, which means the opening, a testament to his ability to find an opening in the enemy's defenses. In 1794, the revolutionary government in France made a radical decision. They officially abolished slavery in all their colonies. Seeing this, Louverture switched his allegiance. He turned on the Spanish and drove them out of Saint-Domingue, then turned his attention to the British, who had invaded in hopes of seizing the profitable colony. In a stunning campaign, Louverture's army, composed of former slaves, defeated the professional soldiers of the mighty British Empire, forcing them to withdraw in 1798. By 1801, Toussaint Louverture was the undisputed ruler of Saint. He had brought peace to the island, restored much of its economy, and drafted a constitution that abolished slavery forever and made him governor-general for life. He created a society where former slaves were now citizens, a concept that was unthinkable to the rest of the world. He proved that people of African descent were not just capable of governing themselves, but could outthink, outmaneuver, and outfight the most powerful European nations. But his success was a direct threat to the established world order. In France, Napoleon Bonaparte had risen to power. He saw Louverture's autonomous rule as a challenge to his authority and was determined to restore slavery and French control over the lucrative colony. In 1802, Napoleon sent the largest expeditionary force ever to leave France, led by his own brother-in-law, Charles Leclerc, with a single mission: to capture Louverture and reinstate the old system. What followed was a brutal and bloody war. Louverture led a fierce resistance, employing a scorched earth policy, burning cities and plantations to deny the French resources. He famously told his people, "In overthrowing me, you have cut down in Saint-Domingue only the trunk of the tree of liberty. It will spring up again from the roots, for they are many and deep." Despite their heroic resistance, the French forces, through sheer numbers and treachery, began to gain the upper hand. Leclerc tricked Louverture into a meeting under the promise of peace negotiations. It was a trap. Toussaint Louverture was arrested and deported to France. He was imprisoned in a cold, damp dungeon in the Jura Mountains, where he died of pneumonia and starvation in 1803. Napoleon thought that by eliminating the leader, he had ended the revolution. He was wrong. Louverture's capture and death only served to ignite the flames of revolution even higher. His lieutenant, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, took command. Filled with rage, he led the rebel army in a final, ruthless campaign to expel the French for good. On January 1, 1804, Dessalines declared the island independent, renaming it Haiti, its original indigenous name. The Haitian Revolution was complete. It had created the first independent nation in Latin America and the Caribbean, and the world's first free black republic. The legacy of Toussaint Louverture and the Haitian Revolution is monumental, yet it is so often overlooked in our history books. It was a direct challenge to the institution of slavery everywhere and inspired revolts and abolitionist movements across the Americas. It proved that the ideals of freedom and equality were not just for Europeans, but for all humanity. Louverture's story is a powerful testament to the idea that one person's courage, brilliance, and unwavering commitment to justice can indeed change the world. He was a revolutionary, a statesman, a general, and a liberator whose story deserves to be told and remembered. This channel, Historical Figures and Moments, is dedicated to uncovering more powerful stories just like this one. But I can't do it alone. I'm looking to build a community of passionate history lovers to help this channel grow. If you have a passion for history and would like to volunteer your skills in research, writing, or editing, this is a great chance to join our team. Please email your CV to start19951995@gmail.com and tell me a bit about yourself and how you'd like to contribute. Let's work together to bring these incredible moments from the past to a wider audience. Thanks so much for watching. And do forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you miss our next deep dive into history.